Welcome to the Rebuilt Man podcast. I'm your host and founder, Coach Frank Rich. And today we have a very exciting special episode of the Rebuilt Man. I recently had the opportunity to speak at the men's group, Courageous, at my home church, Grace Family Church here in Tampa, Florida. And in the room that evening, we had over 300 men that were looking to move forward in their lives. This is a weekly men's group gathering, and they brought me in to talk about the struggles with porn addiction in the church. So in this special presentation, you're going to hear me speak directly from the stage to the audience of men at Grace Family Church. We're going to share the shocking statistics of the active members within the church that are struggling with porn and why it is so prevalent in today's church culture. Then we're going to walk you through my personal journey briefly on how I went from struggling with 20 plus years of porn addiction to now leading over 1,800 men into freedom in the last 6.5 years. And then we're going to give you 5 practical takeaways that if you're caught in the struggle right now, you can begin to implement in your life to begin to find some success in creating freedom from porn and porn addiction. Get on deck, ready to learn. It's a brief, short 20-minute talk, but very powerful perspectives, very powerful, inspiring for what God is calling you to do in your life. And if you're watching this right now and you're somebody that's caught up in the struggle, we want to extend an invitation to join us inside our school, brotherhood, and community. And the best way to do that is by visiting therebuiltman.com/7-day reset. When you join us here, you get access to 7 days of practical steps. We'll give you 5 tips a day, but we break those down into daily assignments and exercises at therebuiltman.com/7-day reset. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode, the porn problem in the church that nobody is talking about. We love you guys, and we'll see you on the other side. Tonight off with having everybody in the room stand up, please. I'm going to test you guys and see how well you can work as a team in a group here. We're going to do some math. If your table has somewhere between 8 to 10 members sitting at it right now, I'd like 3 members of that table to sit down. If your table is 8 to 10, 3 of you guys please have a seat. If your table is somewhere between 5 to 7, 2 members of the table please sit down. If your table is under 5 people, have 1 person at that table sit down. Now, whether you're standing or sitting, I want everybody to look around. Standing right now is roughly 60 to 70% of this room. Everybody agree? Now, that number is important because according to the latest Barna research, 75% of Christian men consume pornography on a regular basis. 3/4 of the men that sit in this room every single weekend spend time on a weekly basis looking at porn online. Now, the more shocking number is that 64% of those men are okay and accept their consumption. And that's what I want to speak to here tonight, because I'm not here to judge anybody. I spent 20 years addicted to this thing. I've walked in 7 years for freedom, and I can tell you walking in freedom is a way better choice. We're not going to come with shame. We're not going to come with condemnation. We are hoping to give you guys some tools if you are one of those 75% that maybe isn't admit he's struggling, maybe is okay with it. Once again, we're not here to judge or shame. Everybody please have a seat. "75% of the men that attend church on a regular basis." It's shocking. It's dangerous, and the impact is far beyond the spiritual implications. Societally, relationships, we know that 56% of divorces report to the male's porn use as a reason for divorce. We know that porn consumption directly impacts the gray matter of our prefrontal cortex. It's the part of our brain that is responsible for decision-making, for rational thinking, for emotional control. We know it impacts a man's drive, motivation. Frequent use can lead to desensitization, erectile dysfunction, and truly destroying the relationship, the leadership that a man holds within himself. I'm really honored to be back here with you guys tonight. I had a chance to speak to this group a couple years ago. I remember some of your faces. Why this means so much to me is because 8 years ago, I stepped into this church for the first time. Wasn't born in a Christian home. I didn't have a relationship with God growing up. I did have a deep relationship with pornography, though, and it led me to some pretty dark places. And I remember walking in on a Saturday night, afraid, lost, found myself sitting all the way up in the top rafters up there, trying to hide. Standing at this pulpit was Pastor Matt Roden. He delivered a message that weekend on Samson. Many of us know the story of Samson, strong warrior, alpha male, but one that struggled with lust. I felt that weekend that message was speaking directly to me. I didn't really address my pornography addiction. I didn't really look at myself in the mirror and spoke in truth. But that weekend, I felt like I found a new home. A few months go by, I really started to wrestle with who I was showing up. I was trying to walk in integrity as my new Christian identity. February 14th, 2019. Some very meaningful conversations with some men that I truly respected, some men that began to call me to a higher standard. These men challenged me in a way that I'd never been challenged before. And on that day, I made a declaration and commitment to never look back again. It wasn't easy, but it's been the most fulfilling decision I've ever made in my life. That one day has led me down a path of 7+ years of freedom, of launching a podcast later that summer to share my story and testimony, to a year and a half later, launching a coaching practice and ministry that has now impacted and reached over 1 million men across the globe. Our books, tools, resources have been utilized by over 10,000 men, and we have over 1,800 documented successful transformations of guys that once struggled with porn and now walk in freedom. A few of them sitting in this room tonight. We've learned a lot along the way. One, that freedom is possible. I believe that 64% of men that accept their behavior, accept their consumption, many of them do it because they don't believe that freedom is possible. They've tried before. They've fallen on their face. They felt shame. They felt conviction. They never felt like they really had the tools necessary to walk in freedom. Now, if that's you tonight, I want to give you guys a couple takeaways, a couple tips that I believe can help you. I say we've spoken with a lot of men. We've had a lot of success. We come at this from an angle where we don't want to judge, but we want to call men to a higher standard. Every single one of you, I believe, is capable of more, no matter where you are in your life right now. God's got something for you. And perhaps the thing that's holding you back from truly walking in that is this tiny little secret that sometimes we keep in the closet, figuratively and literally. I've shared my story. I've spoken with Tim on the Altar Mind podcast. I was so deep in my addiction that I had a secret laptop that stayed in a shelf in the closet. Nobody in my life knew. I was really good at hiding it. And that's why I think the first thing that I can share with you tonight, if you are struggling, the first thing that is going to begin to unlock freedom in your life is to tell the truth. You cannot change the thing that you are unwilling to address and talk about. If you are participating in a behavior on a daily, weekly, monthly basis and not having a conversation about it, that thing is holding absolute power over you. And when I talk about telling the truth, it's not just about our struggles. It's across the board. Many men, when asked the question, how are you doing, respond with a surface level answer, I'm fine. Are you really? Or are you afraid of the judgment of others? Maybe sometimes we show up late to work. We're delayed on getting to where we want to be, and we'll blame traffic. We'll blame somebody else. In reality, we just really didn't hold our word. We didn't hold our commitments. Now, in the 7 years of running one of the top podcasts in the men's development space, we've had neuroscientists, behavioral psychologists, people that understand human nature,
to the furthest degree. One of those was Dr. Anna Lemke, Stanford's head of addiction, author of Dopamine Nation, the #1 book on understanding behavior and how it impacts our brain. Anna's ran a practice for over 30 years out of Stanford's office, working with men struggling with porn. When I asked her, what does she do when clients sit across from her at her desk? The first thing she does, she tells them brutal honesty in every single area of your life. So if you're struggling, holding a secret, maybe feeling a pull in a particular way tonight, the first thing I believe that every single one of us can begin to do to unlock freedom and really embrace the calling that God has on our life is to tell the truth. Number 2, learn to say no. Learn to say no. And it doesn't have to be with the biggest thing in our life. Sometimes learning to say no with what we put in our mouth empowers us. It gives us the elements of self-control that we're going to need later on to say no to those videos on the internet. Now, Grace has put you guys in a unique position because in a couple of days, this weekend, we launched 21 days of prayer and fasting. Maybe the timing isn't a coincidence. But if a man can learn to say no in the things that are tempting him to put in his mouth, it's a lot easier to say no to the things that you want to do with your hands. We encourage our guys, we actually coach them through a process of a 48-hour fast very early on. We want to test these guys. We want to push you up against something that's going to challenge you mentally, physically, and spiritually, the same way that porn is. Maybe saying no to social media is where you need to start. But like I said, Grace has put you in a very unique position with the timing of this message as we start our 21 days of prayer and fasting. The third thing that I think can help, and this is what has really enabled us to succeed in changing how men see porn, is don't focus on behavior modification. Focus on identity transformation. What I mean there is a lot of men will reach out to us. A lot of men that are struggling in this area. And for years, sometimes decades, they've tried to quit a behavior. They've tried to quit looking at porn. What if you began to look at yourself as a man that no longer did that? You saw yourself as a different man, a different person. You changed your desires from the inside. James Clear in Atomic Habits says it's a lot easier to change an identity than it is to create a new habit or stop an old one. Here's a false belief I think a lot of men have, that when they stop looking at porn, the things that trigger them, the things that challenge them, the reasons why they look at them are going to go away. Myself and our team, we've analyzed thousands of pieces of data. We've had over 2,000 conversations and inquiries to join our coaching program. Every single one of them is required to fill out a consultation form. The #1 reason men look at porn, or the top 3 reasons, are stress, financial pressure, and loneliness or isolation. Very seldom is this behavior driven from a sexual desire. From a young age, we build a coping mechanism that allows us to escape our internal states and emotions. Well, if stress, financial pressure, and loneliness are the reasons as to why, those aren't going to go away. No man I know walking this earth lives a stress-free life. Especially no kingdom man that is chasing greatness, that is chasing living at a higher standard. In fact, the more you step into that identity, the more stress is going to come with it. I love that all you guys are here, creating meaningful connection and relationships. But even guys that have been here for years and decades will tell you, there's moments in their life where they feel alone. The French philosopher in the late 1700s, Pascal, said that all of humanity's problems will stem from a man's inability to sit in his quiet thoughts alone. So what I mean here is, if the reasons as to why we escape to go look at porn are still going to be present, then quitting the behavior is never going to be a viable solution. Learning to process those emotions, building healthier outlets, better tools of self-regulation has to be the pathway. And that's what I mean when I say don't focus on behavior modification, focus on identity transformation. Become the guy that when he's dealing stress knows how to self-regulate himself. Become the guy that when he is alone, he doesn't run to the screen. He runs to his brothers. The fourth thing I think every single one of us can begin to work on is building on and improving our self-reputation. The way that we see ourselves. Do we do the things that we say we're going to do without fail every single time? Think about it. If the guy sitting at your table on a daily basis told you that they were going to do something and didn't follow through, how much respect would you have for that man? Would you call on him when you needed him? Or in time, would you give up on this brother? Say, he's a lost cause. I can't rely on him. When we do that to ourselves, we're building a relationship and reputation that we do not care about our own life. It's the small things. Did you wake up at the time that you said you're going to wake up? Did you spend the time in prayer? Did you get in the Word like you said you were going to? Did you hit the gym like you said you were going to? Or did you drive past it and hit the fast food? Your mind is keeping a literal catalog of every promise you make and do not keep. And that shows up when you're stressed, when you're triggered, when you're in a vulnerable state, and your subconscious now takes over control. 80% of our life is driven subconsciously, meaning we are not fully in the driver's seat. But if you did all the things that you said you were going to do every single day without fail, in time, I can guarantee that when you say you're not going to look at porn, you won't look at porn. And the fifth thing here, this has become a daily practice in our coaching program in every single one of our men, is learning to live from and operate from a state of gratitude. Neuroscience shows that when we have a regular gratitude practice, it rewires our brain. So if we've been consuming pornography regularly and it's had a negative effect on the neural firing and wiring of our brain, a pathway out of it to rewire is going to be injecting ourselves into healthy habits. And one of the healthiest habits I believe we can have is a daily gratitude practice. And not superficial ones. Start there if you need to, but begin to become grateful for the conversations that you have at the table tonight, the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis. What fires together wires together. When you begin to look for things on a daily basis to be grateful for, you will begin to see more things on a daily basis to be grateful for. And the man that is living in a blissful state, is grateful for his life, is not a man that needs to escape that life. And let's be honest, that's what porn is. I hope we can all agree. Porn is us escaping the current situation, whether it's stress, financial pressure, or loneliness. We say create a life that no longer needs porn. Become the man that no longer wants, needs, or desires porn. Identity transformation. But like I said, guys, 8 years ago, I walked into this place lost in a dark, dark place. believe freedom is possible for every single one of you. I've seen men that have been addicted for 20, 30, 40 years. We've had clients 18 up to 80 years old. No person is unredeemable. It does take commitment. It does take brutal honesty. It takes brotherhood, connection. Pornography addiction at its core is an intimacy disorder. G.K. Chesterton said it. When a man knocks on a brothel door, he is knocking for God. There's a hole in our heart. A hole that only God can fill. My hope and prayer tonight is if you are one of those 75% of men that you find somebody in this room to have a conversation with, start there. There's a man sitting across your table that was exactly where you were. And if you take action with intent and purpose on what I spoke about tonight, these 5 simple things, I can guarantee it. It's not going to happen overnight. It may take a couple weeks, it may take a couple months, or it may take a couple years. I don't know. Everybody is going to be a little bit different. But it is truly possible. And I'll be around this evening to answer questions, to hear stories. Like I said, there are men sitting in this room tonight that were where some of you maybe were. But we know when a man walks into freedom, his confidence grows, his leadership, his integrity grows, he begins to lead his family stronger. That fire inside of him comes back on. That fire that God placed in each and every single one of them.
There you have it, guys. The problem in the church with porn that nobody is talking about, and 5 practical steps and takeaways to begin to take action on and implement in your life if you are currently struggling with breaking free from porn. And as a reminder, guys, if you're caught up in the depths of addiction right now, and if you're looking for a place, you're looking for a community, you're looking for a proven plan and process, we have helped over 1,800 men conquer this addiction and create freedom in the last 6 years. And you can get access to the exact blueprint, a 7-day protocol, a 7-day reset to begin to win this battle in your life starting right now. If you visit the rebuiltman.com/7-day reset, but click the link down there in the show notes below. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.